voice on the issue that is discussed on the floor of this House. Mr. Speaker, the issue that's coming up here is a very important issue that's really affecting the learners in our schools. Mr. Speaker, is really discouraging that we have a whole ministry with so many employees, so many top officials, but they cannot account for the number of students in our schools. And Mr. Speaker, this has made really running of our schools very difficult. Sometimes even keeping the students in our schools is really becoming a big problem, because managing our schools without having the real number, without complying with the resources that are supposed to go down to the schools, becomes very difficult to manage our schools, Mr. Speaker. And this has really affected the learning, because sometimes even taking care of the students without having the right resources, because of the number that's being submitted by the ministry, is really a shocking story to this country. So, Mr. Speaker, we want to task the Ministry of Education that the number of the students should always tally with the number that is in the NEMIS, because that will reflect on how much resources will go down to the schools. Another problem, Mr. Speaker, is that if the system is really not working and it's not adding up, why don't we have a parallel manual program that the ministry can capture the number of students per school, such that at a certain point they can be able to compare the number in the NEMIS and also have a manual register which can capture all the students in a school. Because you can imagine, you can have 1,000 students in a school, but in the NEMIS you can have less than 300. So who will account for the number that's missing? So, Mr. Speaker, something needs to be done.
Thank you.
And the Ministry of Education should be up to the task.
The Chair of Education Committee.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I agree with the sentiments of the members, and I want to give a brief, just short story, and I want to say my former chair education, before the introduction of NEMIS, they were using, Honorable Sabina Chege is here, before the introduction of NEMIS, they were using leaflets and papers from schools to ascertain the number of students in those schools. After our visit to the US, and we saw the US charter schools, that is when NEMIS was introduced. And we realized that there was a complete mismatch between the list brought by the principal to the Ministry of Education and the actual students on the ground, because they were just adding it up. But now with the introduction of NEMIS, other issues have arisen. And I want to tell the House that about in June this month, the new principal secretary launched chemis, and they brought in chemis because of the inability of NEMIS to capture all the student data. So I want to say this, Honorable Speaker, that what I have read here and what the committee has tasked the ministry to do is to ensure that chemis is functional and running before the end of September. And then two, the issues of money not remitted to schools is actually what this House has been telling the minister, the committee has been telling the minister, and we are putting him to task every time. It's not only capitation, even money for sports, even money for music. We are having issues on their disbursement to schools. So, Honorable Speaker, I raise the case there. Thank you.
The Honorable, no. We will not allow any further discussion on this matter. My direction is this: we will not take, because the Honorable Chair has just introduced a new confusion. Yes. That there's NEMIS, now there's chemis, we don't know. So the direction, order. The direction I'm giving on this matter is that the Cabinet Secretary for Education shall come to the House the week we resume. Most particularly, the Wednesday of the week we resume after recess, with a specific role, nothing else, to explain to the House on the system for registration of students in our schools. Yes. No other subject. Yes. So that we get to know. We don't want to hear it from a fellow member of parliament. We want to hear, is NEMIS still there or is not there? And what is chemis? So that we members leave the House knowing the system that we're using to register students in our schools, so that we don't have so many questions coming out on this. And it's so ordered. Next order.
Order number 8, the Breastfeeding Mothers Bill, National Assembly Bill number 8 of 2024, second reading. Question to be put.
Order. Now, all members, debate on this motion or this bill was completed last week, and I now put the question. Order. I now put the question that the Breastfeeding Mothers Bill, National Assembly Bill number 8 of 2024, be now read a second time. Will as many other opinions say aye? Aye. Will as many other contrary opinions say nay? The ayes have it.
A bill for an act of parliament to make provision for breastfeeding mothers, to provide for employers' obligations towards breastfeeding working mothers in the workplace, to provide for baby changing facilities for use by the public and for connected purposes.
Next order.
Order number 9, the County Government's Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 25 of 2023, second reading. Question to be put.
Members, debate on this bill also completed, and I now put the question. Order. I now put the question that the County Government's Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 25 of 2023, be now read a second time. Will as many of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
A bill for an act of parliament to amend the County Governments Act to increase the threshold for removal of a member of a county executive committee and for connected purposes.
Next order.
Order number 10, motion, expression of concern on the Middle East conflict. Question to be put.
All members, I should remember the debate on this motion also completed last week, and therefore let members have a chance to vote either way. Order. All members, the motion is on expression of concern on the Middle East conflict. That, aware that Kenya ratified the United Nations Charter on Human Rights on 31st July 1990, and further recollecting that among the rights enshrined in the Charter is the right to life and self-determination by people, cognizant of the fact that Israel occupation of Palestine territory in Gaza and the West Bank has been characterized by disproportionate and indiscriminate use of force, concerned that this has deepened the humanitarian crisis in the region, including the destruction of infrastructure, widespread civilian casualties, and the willful killing of Palestinian civilians, including children in the occupied territories by the Israeli army. Noting that these grave breaches amount to war crimes, flagrant violations of international humanitarian law, and crimes against humanity, concerned that the recent escalation of hostilities between Israel and Iran, including cross-border strikes and retaliatory attacks, threatens to engulf the wider Middle East region in conflict, recalling that Kenya has previously suffered attacks on its soil as a result of the Middle East conflict, including the 2002 attack on the Paradise Hotel in Kampala, appreciating that United Nations General Assembly recently passed a resolution demanding an end to Israel's unlawful occupation of Palestinian territories and urging compliance with international law, further appreciating the urgent need for international community, including